I just went on a date with a guy who tried to rob me at the worst moment of my life, and I have no one I can tell this to. 2 years ago, I returned home from my father's funeral. As soon as I opened the door to my apartment, a guy holding a crowbar came out from my kitchen holding my TV. I live in the city, so robberies are common. The guy began shouting at me and he clumsily dropped my TV and began holding the crowbar like it was a baseball bat. I was so stunned at what was happening that I didn't move. The guy screamed at me to empty my pockets. From the stress of the last few days with my father passing away, I simply started crying. Not out of fear at what was happening, but because this was literally the worst time of my life, the worst moment, the worst minute and second. While crying hysterically, I gave the guy my wallet. I just sat on my floor and hugged my knees and told him through my tears to take whatever you want. He hesitated, looked down at me. He dropped my wallet and sat down beside me. Immediately he began to comfort me. He began to apologize. He put my TV back on the table and told me it wasn't damaged. He told me that he lost his job and that his mom needed medicine that he couldn't afford and that they were homeless, and just kept apologizing. He told me all of this while I just wailed. I cried for my father, who was gone. I cried for my future, for it was uncertain, and I cried because my home had been intruded on in the most violent way. It was super overwhelming. For a good 10 minutes I sat on the floor with a guy who had every intent to rob me, telling me that it would be okay and that he was sorry. He begged me not to call the police, but I just started screaming at him to get out. He ran away so fast that he left the crowbar. I threw it after him as he ran down the street. 2 days later though, I came home from work and he was sitting in front of my door. I was so terrified that I pulled out my phone, but he had this look on his face of, I'm not sure how to describe it, remorse, regret? He told me that he told his mom what he did, and his mom made me some soup. He handed me this tiny bowl wrapped in tin foil. Again, I was stunned and overwhelmed and angry that I slapped the bowl out of his hands and it shattered on the floor. I told him to leave or I was calling the police, so he left. I remember he looked upset. I left the soup and shattered bowl outside my door, almost as a warning for him to not come back. Well, fast forward to about 3 months after that, I got a note in my mail slot from the guy. He told me his mother had passed away and that he was no longer homeless and that he had a job. He wanted to repay me for breaking into my apartment. He wrote down his address and told me that I was welcome to break into his place if I wanted, but he didn't have much stuff. This all overwhelmed me. I threw away the letter, but I remembered his address. I remember walking by there one day, out of curiosity. It was a ratty apartment building across the city. He was walking up to his room and he saw me. He waved. I turned away and left. He ran after me, apologized again. Told me that he never meant to do what he did. He showed me the program from his mother's funeral that he kept in his wallet. He wasn't lying, she was real. He was real. He was a real person. I don't know what it was, but I believed him. We slowly began to grow together as people. I can't even describe it. After a year of maintaining communication and learning about who he was, he enrolled in a local community college and began taking courses to earn credits before applying to university. I helped him study for his history class a lot. He's great at math and science though. I never invited him over to my apartment, however. No matter how much I got to know him, I was still afraid of him, and he knew that. He knew that I couldn't trust him. But tonight we went out for coffee because he said he had an exam in his World Civ class. When I got there he said he forgot his book. We just talked for a bit, we laughed, and then he told me he wanted to cook for me. On a whim I decided to invite him to my apartment. After picking up some things from the grocery store, he came over. I was so nervous that I was shaking. He noticed, he squeezed my hand, and then he made dinner. It was amazing. We talked, we laughed, we sat on the floor and watched a movie on the TV he tried to steal. We even made jokes about it. And then he told me that he missed his mom, so I just gave him a hug, and shortly after, he left. I don't know what I feel, but I do know that I can't give up on people anymore. Some people just have the crap end of life. Maybe things have a way of working themselves out. And I miss my dad too. Edit, I am beside myself to log on this morning and see this at the top of this page. I have been a Redditor for a few years, but never thought this would happen. Also, to those of you who are messaging and commenting to confirm the validity of this, I guess it never occurred to me when I wrote this that it sounded so ridiculous. It really does. I don't blame you for saying it's false, but it's real. He's real. I'm real. It all happened and is happening currently. Thank you all who have messaged me and commented. And thank you to the 2 people that gave me gold. This is just insane to me. I'm so grateful. Edit number 2. Sorry for neglecting this. Today has been insane with work and hosting a friend's bridal shower. I want to clarify a few things about this, because I am getting a lot of messages about a lot of different things. 1. People are saying that I am being too trusting of him after what happened. You're right, I suppose. I mean, I live in the heart of one of the most dangerous cities. My friend was robbed just a few years ago and was actually physically injured as a result of it, so me trusting him did not constitute me giving him a hug after he broke in. It was much, much more than that. 2. My dad died of a brain aneurysm in March 2013. He passed away peacefully in his sleep. The thing about my dad though was that he was the most generous, most kindest man in this world. I know people like to say that about their parents, but it's true about my dad. When I was 4, I remember him giving these guys a ride from prison, They were released after serving their sentence, but had to walk to get to where they were going because they didn't have anyone to give them a ride anywhere. My dad picked them up, had them hop in the back of his pickup truck, and took them home. He put his life, and basically mine, at the hands of these people who could have hurt us. They didn't, thank God. My dad taught me to be selfless and understanding of the world, and of people, and I loved him for that. But when I lost him, it shattered me, it turned me into an entirely different person. After my dad died, I became severely depressed and angry. I was angry at everything. I had to take a leave from my job. I teach second grade. All day, I would lay in bed and think about how much I hated God, or whatever higher power, for taking my dad away. Nothing seemed worth it. After the guy, my friend, broke into my apartment, I hated him for a while. I hated my dad for making me so trusting, because I didn't call the cops on the guy. I hated my dad for dying. I hated him for being so incredibly compassionate and better than me. I hated myself for being vulnerable. I just hated everything. 3. The guy who tried to rob me is a person. And of course, I constantly ask myself when I'm with him, what happens if he tries to hurt me? Or rob me again? But the thing about him is that he knows I'm thinking this, and he constantly tries to reassure me. We have grown together as people, as I said. There's a whole 2 years that I didn't post in this recounting because it would be like a novel-length post. Do I like him? I don't think so. I don't think he likes me. I think we both understand, respect and honor the other for our mutual struggles. We're proud of each other, and we're both guilty of things. Me for shutting out my friends, family and students and becoming an awful person after I lost my dad, and him for going to incredible lengths to try and save his mother from experiencing incredible agony in her final moments. 4. I intend to show him this post. I want him to know. He doesn't have a computer or internet, but I think he'll find this humorous. His story is not mine to tell. How his mother died is not my story to tell. What exactly drove him to pry open my front door with a crowbar is not for me to tell. What happened to his family is not for me to tell. But what is for me to tell is that he is a human. He is flawed. God, he's so flawed. But after knowing him, and learning about his life, about his childhood and the tiny little child who used to be so passionate about school and learning as he was, as he told me, I know that he has his story. I have my story too, and you have yours. And although I think it is irrelevant, the thought of even dating after the last few years hasn't crossed my mind. Was I involved in relationships prior to my dad's passing? Yes. One was long-term and had a foreseeable end with an engagement, but things happen. Life happens. I'm meeting with him tomorrow at his work while he's on break to give him some old study materials that I have from a literature class I took in college. It's also normal, and I'm not afraid. My dad was never afraid, so I shouldn't have to be. I choose not to be. Update, hey. So I posted a couple of days ago about how I went on a date with this guy who tried to rob me. This is just a quick follow-up, nothing major. Last night, I showed him the post and some of the comments from you guys. He was a little apprehensive about this place, and the fact that I had shared this with the entire world, but the comments really made him so happy. He wanted me to thank you all, and I tried to get him to make a post of his own, but he thinks it's too weird. Plus, he considers himself a bad speller. I just wanted to update everyone with this little unimportant tidbit. My dad's birthday is in a few weeks. I always have to prepare myself for it year-round, really. But this year is different because I know I have people to support me. Especially a really close, new friend, who came. Well, I'd like to say out of nowhere, but he really just came out of my kitchen holding a crowbar. One more thing, when I showed him the post, he looked up at me and went, "Wait. It was a date?" And I got so embarrassed. Then he laughed and told me that he was relieved, because he thought it was a date. We haven't talked about anything else along the lines of dating in the future. I just wanted to extend my gratitude, my thanks, and my love, as well as his, to you all. Thank you, thank you. Update, 6 months later, so. About the guy that tried to rob me and who I dated. I've been trying to write this for the past 3 months, but I always kept getting busy. I truly don't know what to say because so much has happened in the 6 months since I wrote all this down for the first time. I want to say this for me, to get this off my chest. I cared about him. I cared for him. I did, I can't deny that. In January, right after the new year started, I got a phone call at 2:30 in the morning from him. He was in jail. He and 2 of his friends were arrested for public intoxication and possession of substance paraphernalia. He wanted me to bail him out. I'm a teacher living on a teacher's salary. I said no, I couldn't, and this is when things fell apart. Before then he and I had been incredibly close. We spent Christmas together. I didn't have enough money for a plane ticket home, so I stayed in the city. He came over, we cooked and watched movies. Before Christmas, we spent Thanksgiving together. I helped him study. I helped him get his finances in order. He had no idea how to do taxes and how to do all of the adult stuff, as he said. But I noticed I started doing things I didn't normally do. He would come over in the middle of the night visibly panicked and ask if he could stay with me. I let him, no questions asked. I stopped asking questions because I wanted to believe that he was good and everything was fine. He started asking me that if others asked about him if I would lie and say I didn't know him. This scared me, but I assumed it was about work stuff. I wanted it to be his work stuff. He was released from jail about a week later. He didn't talk to me. I called his apartment. Nothing. I came home from work one day and a woman was waiting outside my door. She looked disheveled. She was wearing a tank top and flip-flops in mid-January in the Northeast. So it was very cold. When I tried to key into my apartment, she started verbally attacking me. She told me to stay away from him. Like she owned him. She told me that she knew what I did to him and that I would get what's coming. She left. I was scared out of my mind, but before calling the police, I decided to call his apartment one last time. He answered and I told him about the woman. He apologized and said that he was seeing her. He didn't intend for her to come over and interfere, but that led me to another question. How did she know where I live? And how many others had he told where I lived? He hesitated before answering. I remember that. He just said he was sorry. I immediately packed an overnight bag, grabbed my most valuable items, and went to stay in a hotel. I used my credit card, my only in case of emergencies card, because I no longer felt safe because of him. I came back to my apartment the next day. Everything was fine. He came over to apologize, but I told him to get out. I started crying. When I'm angry, I cry. He tried to hug me, but I remember picking up a piece of wood. I had a dismantled IKEA shelf to protect myself. I demanded to know what he was doing. He told me he was selling substances and he told me that he had to do it because he knew people that would hurt him. Lies. I guess. I don't know. I told him to get out, never want to see him again, etc., etc. He got angry, threatened to come back with his friends. I was racked with guilt for trusting him. He apologized again and said he was sorry. I was questioning everything about him. I pushed him out and locked the door. The teaching program I'm a part of rotates teachers in and out of schools across the country. Last year I put in a request to move across the country to be closer to home. 2 weeks after this encounter with him, I found out that my request was accepted and I was set to leave in March. My apartment was broken into and vandalized in early February. At night, he would come and knock on my door. I would call the police, but he would always leave before they got there. His guys started harassing me. Nothing was ever stolen, just broken. They broke a glass bottle my dad made for me when I was 6. He knew how much that meant to me, and now it was shattered. The week before I left, I saw him outside my building. I called the police. He was walking over to me, and I remember having this fiery rage in me. It was this impassioned, red, angry heat that washed over me, and I took my keys, which are on a lanyard, and I just started hitting him. I ended up cracking his eye socket. When the police questioned him, they realized he was the one that was harassing me, and what do you know? He was wanted for a myriad of other charges. After he fell down, after I cracked his eye socket with my keys, I started kicking him. I wanted him to die. I really did. Then I thought about what my dad would think. But then I realized I'm not my dad. I will never be him. I'm different. This is different. People are different. Not all of them are good, but some of them are. I am good. I am a good person. Right now I'm sitting in my new apartment in a brand new city. It's warm. Rent is cheaper. I live in a neighborhood of old people. They're nice. They love that I teach kids. It makes them feel safe, I guess. Some days I leave my front door open and let in a breeze. I'm never afraid. The beach is literally a 7-minute walk, I've timed it, from my back door. I'm happy. So I'm putting this to rest. It's done. It's over. I'm tired. I'm posting this and not checking back anymore. I just wanted to tell someone, because no one in my personal life even knew this was happening. I still can't believe it happened. But it did, and it's done.